Welcome, one and all, to String Theory. Whoa. The show where you ask the questions and I try to give all the answers to all things stringed. We're here for the show number 17,002, and want to mention all our great partners that have been with us from the very beginning. Boucher Guitars, Robin, Guillaume, Julian, Diane, love ya. Levy's Leather Straps, best guitar straps on the planet. If you're going to have a great guitar, have a good strap. G&G Music, Glencoe Hotel up in Antigonish, Nova Scotia, Canada. Fantasy Music down on Spring Garden Road in Halifax. Steve McNeil, not the premier. K&K Sound, my favorite pickups in the world. Gallagher Guitars in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. David and the whole crew down there, thank you. Recording King, Alvarez Jerry in St. Louis Music. Chris Meikle, thank you so much. And last but definitely not least, Yamaha Canada, Terry Hume. And the boys are providing us with some tremendous handmade instruments. We're having a great time here. Thank you very much. Welcome to the show. What the?
That's as low as it gets, and then it shuts off.
We're just...
There's no more fade.
Okay. Welcome, one and all. Here we are.
So far, so good.
It's Wednesday night. It's String Theory. And, yeah, it's good. We have been doing this for, it's going to be going on over 40 weeks now, because Life in Music's at episode 36 or 37, and we started this show first. We haven't missed a Wednesday, except over the holidays, of course. But, yeah, pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to play him your new theme song?
Well, no, I wasn't really prepared.
Okay, fine.
I was thinking about using the same theme song I used last week, but I haven't quite accepted the idea of it yet. Maybe you should tell me if you liked last week's theme song. If you do, I'll keep using it. All right, let's get right to the questions. And great to be here in YouTube land again, courtesy of Bell and our little data box out in the porch, which is turning cell service into Wi-Fi for $8 billion a meg of data. But that's okay. At least we got it. Thanks to Bell. All right, who's next?
Well, first, in fact.
Who's first? Yes.
First. Can't even be next yet.
I spoke in a turn there.
Richard Lipstick.
Richard Lipstick. Sorry.
Probably not his real name.
I hope it ain't.
I've never heard Lipstick as a surname before.
I hope I just didn't laugh my ass off at this guy's last name. It's bad enough, but poor old Herschel Rector, what I thought his name was when I first misheard it. All right, Mr. Lipstick.
He wants to know if you ever played... Jill.
What in the name of Jesus is going on over there? All right.
Who knows what she's doing. Have you ever played a Russell Crosby guitar?
Absolutely. I have.
Thoughts?
What?
Thoughts?
Thoughts. They're fine guitars, but the ones that I had developed humps over the body on the fingerboard tail. This part right here got a hump in it, and they became unplayable. I don't know if it was just a bad batch of tops or what, but me and Bill Elliott both had them, and he's a super nice guy. He does build beautiful guitars. There's no question. But the ones that we had didn't last. I think we played them for 3 or 4 months, and then I took them back. They had it. So, but that doesn't mean all his guitars are like that. We just happened to get a couple that were... That's empty. A couple that were not what you would want, anyhow. But yeah, there you go. Who's next?
Oh, we actually have a super chat from Cam.
Cam McMaster, of course, is in the house. I should have a theme song for Cam.
You should. Every time Cam, just play that tune.
Cam McMaster, yeah. Ken McMaster, yeah. There we go.
That's a lot of work every time he comments. He's going to put you to work.
He's been here so long that he deserves a theme song. Cam, what is he saying?
His question is, who's next?
Well, we'd have to ask the amazing Ginger that. Ginger, who's next?
Let's see here.
You sure he didn't say Connexed?
No, I'm sure.
Is anybody playing bingo tonight?
No, they're just playing the drinking game.
Oh,
Every time we say who's next,
the
they
drinking
drink.
game. Right, okay, all right.
Yeah. We changed the phrase.
The parameters.
So now it's every time you say who's next, they drink.
Oh.
So at the end, they're sloshed.
Okay, who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next? Who's next?
We want them to be able to ask questions. So
all right,
just
okay, go
easy.
ahead. Somebody's chugging some liquor right now, I can tell you that.
Probably Jeff.
Probably Jeff.
Capo Away is next.
Caper away. Welcome back.
He wants to know which guitar you had Chet Atkins sign. Your Life and Music show this week was mind-blowing.
It was an old guitar. There's a very interesting story behind that guitar, and it's with a close friend of mine who I won't name, who has purchased several of my career important instruments, and he owns that guitar. He bought it from me quite a few years ago, and I sold it to him because I knew he would love it and take care of it until the day he dies. And there's quite a story behind that guitar. I was in Halifax, probably around the age of 18 or 19 years old, and was looking for a decent instrument because I didn't have one. And I went into a pawn shop on Gottingen Street called Harry's. And I used to hang around there quite a bit because they always had nice instruments in there hanging on the wall. And he had this Mansfield Custom hanging on the wall, which was, he wanted $600 for. And this is in the late 80s. This is a lot of money. But this guitar was beautifully made. It was a Chinese instrument. And had a Tree of Life on the fretboard and abalone all around it. And it had Mansfield across the top and custom down the middle of the headstock. And so I bought that guitar sort of on time, and almost got my legs broken over it because I didn't make the payments, and because I had no money, I was just a kid. But the guy that ran the place took pity on me, and he said, you can keep the guitar. He said, I'll give you another year or so to pay for it. And he said, just make sure you pay me. And I did. It took a while, but I got it paid for. And that guitar stayed with me on the road for a decade or more, actually, because I was using that guitar when Another Morning I wrote Another Morning on that guitar. And all those songs, Gilgary's Glen, Molly May, were all written on that Mansfield. And I did a lot of modifications to it. I cut the sound hole out of it, like Rice's guitar, and I took some model paint and I covered up the Mansfield logo except for the big pearl C. So there's this huge C on the headstock, right, Cormier, and it's a beautiful guitar. It's still beautiful after all these years, and also it had the very first LR Baggs undersaddle pickup ever designed was installed in that guitar at Gruen's in Nashville in 1991 or 2, I think. And as I said, that guitar went all over the world with me. And the people who played it, holy crap. Marty Stewart played that guitar, Travis Tritt, of course, Jerry Sullivan, Enoch Sullivan, Chet played it briefly when I met him at Wayland's. He had it in his hands. Jimmy Martin. Jimmy Martin played that guitar one night. And it's a very historic piece of my life. And like I said, a close buddy has that guitar, and he will never part with it. And I know that, and that's why he got it. So there you go. It's a very, very heartfelt story behind that instrument. I'll tell you what, incredible. Alrighty, who's next?
Oh, we got a few super chats.
Mm-hmm.
Only one of them is serious, it seems.
Only one of them is serious.
One's from GR.
GR. Mm-hmm. I wonder who that is.
It says, "Cheers to Richard Lipstick. I love your style, JP, and I dig your guitar advice is top notch."
Thank you very much, and thank you for the super chat.
And Cam says, "Who's next?"
Who's next?
Yes.
And just so you guys know, many of you on here, there's lots of, like, we're growing by leaps and bounds, and if many of you might not notice that there's a thing called a super chat on this thing, and it's right next to your comment. You'll see a $, and you can go in there and send us whatever you want. $1, $2, $100, I don't care. And it pins your comment or question to the top of the queue, and we answer them first. So, just in case you don't know what a super chat is, that's what it is. So feel free to use that. We could definitely use the cash. There's no lying there. And yeah, so there you go. Super chat away. Thanks to YouTube. Who's next?
We got a super chat from Ian Rossiter.
Ian Rossiter. Very nice to see you here again, sir.
Says, "My favorite cover song is Willie Nelson doing The Scientist by Coldplay. What is your favorite cover by an unlikely artist?"
Oh, man. Well, yeah, that. I would have said that one. That's my favorite. And the other one is Hurt by Johnny Cash doing the 9 Inch Nails. Like that. The Scientist, holy crap. That's one of the greatest recordings I've ever heard. And you know how I discovered that song? It was the ending music over the credits of a movie that I was watching one night. And it was a horror flick, if I'm not mistaken, and it had a rather sad ending. And there was this song that I had never heard before. And I was like, holy crap, what is that? And I Googled it and, of course, found it, and it's been in my collection ever since. That's an incredible recording. Willie just killed it. So, and of course we all remember Hurt by John, his very last hit. And there's really nobody else on the planet that could have possibly pulled that off as well as Johnny Cash. So yeah, that's quite a thing. Yes.
We have one more super chat from Jeff Gallant.
Jeff Gallant, back in the house.
"Have you ever gotten to play or jam with Eddie Arsenault from PEI?"
No, I never did, and I'm a massive fan of that guy. They put a record out years ago, and of him and all the kids. It was one of my favorite records. It was basically a house party, recorded and released. And I'm telling you, holy crap, that was a great album. And I don't remember what it was called. I don't even know where I got it. Somebody gave it to me one time, and I listened to it for weeks and months, and I learned all the tunes off it that he played, and it was his kids and grandkids were all playing with him, and what a friggin' fiddler. Oh, unbelievable. Thanks for that, Jeff. Who's next?
We have a Jay Gallant, not to be confused with Jeff Gallant.
Jay Gallant. I know this person. They've been here before.
Yes.
Yes.
Can you explain how string spacing is measured on acoustic guitars? Do different builders use different spacing, and which do you prefer?
Well, I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm never sure what these measurements are because I can never remember them. But I prefer the wider spacing. A Martin spacing, for instance, or a Gibson spacing is too narrow for me. The spacing that's used on my Bouchers and my Yeris, these Yeri guitars that are they're 1 and 27/32, I think. It's a really bizarre wide nut. And of course, the spacing of the strings is dictated by the width of the nut. And the more room there is on a fretboard to do things, the better. Like these Recording Kings, they have I'm pretty sure these have the narrow nut, but the way they're set up and the action and the way they play, you don't really notice it so much. I can get around it. But if you were to play my signature model Boucher, compared to this, you would find this a massive amount of room on the neck. way more than any other guitar. And plus, it's a 12 fret to body, so the string tension is lighter. And so, yeah, generally speaking, I like a wide neck with a 12 fret body. I've never, like, you wouldn't have caught me saying that even 10 years ago. But since I've started playing Bouchers and guitars like the Yeris and the Yamahas all have tremendously beautiful width. Like, just there's so much room on them, right? I just can't get around a narrow neck guitar. I know that people like narrow necks sometimes because, well, I don't know. Maybe it just feels better to be able to get your hand around the whole thing, right? But if you're playing intricate things, that doesn't really work so well. You need space. You need space. If you're doing difficult, intricate things, you need space. So, there you go. That's my take. Next.
We got a super chat from Ted Whitmore, but no question as far as I can tell. But thank you, Ted.
Thanks, Ted. That's awesome, buddy. Thanks, brother. Put a question in there for us. Who's next?
Oh dear. Some of it just disappeared.
We haven't heard from Tim lately.
Tim. Oh yeah.
From India. Hope he's doing okay. Hope you're doing okay, brother. We're getting to watch this at some point.
We had Jonathan Sykes.
I don't know if I know that name.
But the questions just disappeared for some reason.
That's weird.
I think his question was, did you ever meet Johnny Cash?
No, I never met John.
Okay.
Never met John.
Easy.
I wish. I should have. I was around that crew quite a bit, but I just never met him. I probably could have if I'd have tried, but I did not.
Yeah, for some reason some of my questions disappeared, so if I skip you, just ask it again, because I can't go back to the beginning of the chat anymore. I'm not
Weird.
sure why.
You two's been acting strange the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They crashed all together last week, and now we've lost some communique.
Okay. What do you think of Martin's X series made in Mexico guitars?
If I was going to Mardi Gras, like on the most dangerous night of the festival, and couldn't find a gun, knife, or baseball bat, I would take a Martin X series made in Mexico as a weapon, because they really make a unique sound when you smash them over an attacker's head. That's about the only use I can think of for them right off the bat. But in all seriousness, don't waste your money. Please, don't waste your money. Yeah, they're horrible. They're horrible guitars. Like, I don't even know why Martin puts their name on them, but it's sad. Okay, I saw one I was out on tour, and just recently, actually on the tour before the pandemic, and I went into what is it now? I can't remember the name of the store, but it's huge, and it has a massively humongous double room acoustic guitar place, like upstairs. And I went in there, and there wasn't a single Martin in there that was worth buying, for one thing. They were just in horrible shape. But they had these Mexican Martins on the wall with the plywood necks. The necks where you can see the strips going this way, like about 1 million of them. And they're a laminate. They're a plywood neck. Like, and I thought, when I see that, I just go, like, that is and I've seen dozens of these guitars online, people talking about, like, getting a little bit of liquid on this stuff, and it disintegrates. All the laminate splits, the neck falls off, the The entire guitar is laminate for the most. I think they're all laminate. The top may be real. I doubt it. I don't know. I can't remember, but they're just horrible. Why? Don't egg these fucking guys on. Buy real guitars. Don't buy Martins like that. If you're going to buy a Martin, get a real one. Get a 28 or a 35 or a 40 series and make sure that before you buy it, you play it. Don't buy them sight unseen. It's a dangerous thing to do because there's just too many of them being made and they're not paying attention. So there you go. Sorry, but that's, I hope you don't own one, because if you do, I can mail you some matches.
Tim is in the house.
Tim is in the house.
Yes.
Where is he now?
Still
in India?
I think so.
Sweet.
Send us a super chat and a question. Thanks for the shout out, he says. Boucher's released a promo video of your signature model played by a Quebec player who plays like a monster. Do you know anything about this guy?
Never heard of him, but I saw the video. And yeah, he's a pretty good guitar player. He's pretty good guitar player. I'm pretty happy he likes my model. That's kind of cool. But yeah, he's a brilliant player. I never heard of him. Never heard of him. I listened to the video yesterday actually. He's playing the entertainer. So if you're on Facebook, make sure you go check out the Boucher Facebook page, Boucher Guitars, and he'll be on there, along with yours truly and many other of the players that Boucher builds for. So yeah, this guy's really good. I thought he was killer. Who's next?
We got Dan Gatton.
Danny Gatton.
Have you played a Yamaha Trans acoustic?
Yes, I've answered this question before. They're great guitars acoustically, but I see no point in the electronics. It may have a use, but it's a parlor trick, and it's really not something that they're, they make it, the guitar itself is amazing. It's a beautiful guitar, which I imagine it would have to be because the effects system is actually inside the guitar, and so the box has to be really good. So, and it is, but I personally just don't see the point in that. It's probably pretty handy if you're, not really playing full time or playing all the time, and you're good enough to whip out the guitar and entertain people at a gathering or whatever, and you pull out the guitar and holy shit, it's got its own effects, and you get chorus and reverb and whatever. That's all fine and good, but you'd never use that on stage. You would have an outboard system to do that, or the sound man or whatever, or an amplifier. So while the guitars themselves are stellar, I would never use one just because it just doesn't seem, there's no point to it for me. But if you like that kind of thing, that gimmicky kind of thing, and it does sound good, it's freakish how good the effects actually sound. They sound tremendously good. If you like that sort of thing, go by all means. I can't, me and Yamaha, I love Yamahas, and it is what it is. They're fantastic guitars. I just question the need for that type of technology in an acoustic guitar, but that's just me. Anyhow, feel free to buy and own one, because I'm sure you will not be disappointed if you buy it.
We got a super chat from Ryan Nelson.
Ryan Nelson? Mm-hmm. Cool.
Because my 12-year-old really enjoys playing the Smiley Bates version of Grandfather's Clock. Is there other flat pickers he should listen to that we don't know?
Oh, absolutely. If you love Smiley Bates, you're next. You're next, and I love Smiley. Smiley's a very underrated guitar player. That guy was friggin' brilliant. So clean, so fast. He didn't play hard things. He didn't. He played what he could play, and he did it better than anybody else could do it. And he chose his fights wisely. He was just a really solid guitar player, and he was very pleasant to listen to. He was incredibly entertaining, and if you love Smiley, your next, the two guys I would say that like Smiley in my, don't take this the wrong way, but Smiley is at the bottom end of these flat pickers, right? He didn't have a lot of tone. He just had great delivery, and he played very sharp tone, played way back by the saddle, and he was real cool to listen to. But if you want to go up a notch from him, the two guys that would be the stepping stones towards ever more greater flat pickers, you'd go to Norman Blake, who's like Smiley but more adventurous and better tone and a lot more tunes, way more tunes. Smiley didn't make many records, unfortunately, and so you'd have Norman Blake, and then after Norman, if you're still crawling up the ladder, Doc Watson, and then after Doc, you'd hit Dan Crary, would be the next guy that took Doc's style to the next level, and new kinds of tunes and new kinds of technique, and then you're gonna be in Tony Rice territory after that, and everybody that came after Tony. But Smiley, Norman Blake, Doc Watson, Dan Crary, and then if you can get through all of that, you can play anything. So yeah, good on you, Smiley Bates, Canadian legend.
Next is Alan Dalton.
Alan Dalton.
How do you like the Gibson Southern Jumbo that Stomping Tom played in the 70s? It's my dream guitar, and I know they are expensive.
I played that guitar after it was refurbished. Lena had it completely redone by Gibson and gave it to him for a Christmas or birthday present. I can't remember which one now. But I actually played that guitar. Man, God almighty, that thing was a cannon. It was from the 60s. And the SJ200, sadly, and I hate to say this, because it's one of my dream guitars too, and I've owned 3 of them. And all 3 of them failed. And one of them was an SJ200 custom vine that I paid $24,000 for. And I ended up selling that guitar for $12,000. I lost 12 grand on it. And they all had structural failure of some kind. The custom vine had an improperly cut saddle slot through the grain in the wrong way. They cut the bridge out of the wrong part of the rosewood, so you couldn't put a pickup in it. There was a dead spot in the saddle slot. This is before I discovered K&K. God, I wish I discovered K&K before I sold that guitar, because it was worth a goddamn fortune, that instrument. And the other 2 SJ200s I had were the same. They were fantastic when I first bought them. But after 3 months, they just didn't play well. And they were dying, and they had different structural problems. And all I can tell you is, you got to be really careful when you buy Gibson or Martin or any of these large companies. If you can find an SJ200 that just blows your socks off, and take a close look at it, make sure it's sound, make sure that there's no, check the neck, check the angles, make sure it's sound, and make sure you're buying it from a store that allow you like a 60-day return policy or whatever it might be. And because you got to be careful. If you can find the right one, oh man, they're unbelievable. To me, the SJ200 is one of the greatest guitar designs ever made, in my opinion. I love them. They're so good for just about anything, really, but mostly rhythm. Like that big, they just get so much power. And one of the reasons I love my Boucher Jumbo, Robin, it's a hybrid instrument. It's nothing like a Gibson, but it has some of those qualities. It has that big, rich, huge volume with a nice mid spike in it the clarity, right, that the Gibson doesn't have. But you can find, I'm telling you, if you find the right SJ200, or even an SJ, like any SJ, don't have to go for the big fancy one. If you find the right SJ, buy it. And but be prepared for possibly having to take it back in a month, or because it might be a dud. But if it's not a dud, you've got one hell of a guitar. And of all the Gibsons that are made, that's the only one that I would ever play. You can take the J45s and the Songwriter Deluxes and all that other crap. They're just not what they used to be. But the SJ200s, or any of the SJs at all, they seem to have retained, a lot of integrity with that model. So there you go. That's my 2 cents worth. Who's next?
We got Joe.
Brother Joe. Somebody take a drink.
He says, just call me Joey Footlotion.
Joey Footlotion.
What is your favorite capo?
Well, I'm going to mention this because they do endorse me, but I'm going to mention this because I love them. Is the G7 has a page style capo. It's gold. They just came out a few years ago, and I got a couple of them at the NAMM show in Los Angeles last January. And I really, really liked them. Except all page style capos present a problem on some of the guitars I have, trying to slip them over the nut. So, other than that, one of my favorite, if you want to know what I use the most of, it's Kaisers, because they're super fast and they're super clean and they do the job with no fanfare. You take them off the headstock and boom, you're done, right? But this is actually one of my very favorite capos, and this is a Planet Waves. It's a thumb screw type capo. Ginger's offering to give you a close-up. And that one's quite old. I bet you I've had that thing for 5 years and still works like a charm. And that thumb screw is incredibly sensitive, so you can really apply just exactly the amount of pressure you want on the neck with this thing. And if I take a look at the rubbers, they're a little worn out, but they're still good. I use this all the time. Planet Waves, Diodario. Great capo. Also on the table, we have the ever-present, in my collection at least, the Shub. It's one of the best capos ever built, and they're nearly indestructible. You can replace this rubber. You all know about Shub. And then, of course, boom, the Kaiser. I think that's probably the best capo that's ever been designed. And some people don't like them because they're not adjustable. But they're true. They work every time. You don't have to worry about buzzing and all kinds of stuff and, shit not working. It works every single time. And when this little spring wears out, you throw it away and buy another one. They're only $20. So there you go. That's my capo talk for the night. Capo talking. Capo talking.
Do capos get their own hit?
Gotta talk about capos. I'm going to make a theme song for everything.
All the general categories we
That's
have
right.
on. That'll make this show very long. Cajun Queen is next.
Cajun Queen.
A bunch of companies like LR Bags, etc., make outboard acoustic preamps. Are these useful devices?
Well, yeah, they are. I used them all my career. I used an LR Bags Paracoustic DI for my entire career, but it was for my fiddle, not my guitar. They are very good boxes. And I also use a Fishman Platinum Plus box. That's actually a tube. It's an analog box. That's really awesome. They're hard to find. I got mine along a McQuaid. And yes, absolutely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having that. But at the same time, I don't use any of those things anymore because I switched to an amplifier. And to me, an amplifier has a greater fine-tuned control of a guitar pickup output than a box does. And the only reason is it's an illusion, right? The box might have more controls and greater fine controls, but you're not hearing it. You're hearing, when you're in that situation, your XLR is going out to the soundboard and you're trying to mix your guitar from hearing the house from behind. So you're not even really sure what you're doing. When you use an amplifier, you have the same control, but the speaker's right beside you. So you know exactly what the guitar sounds like. And if you use a post EQ send to the board gets what's coming out of your speaker. And that's why I switched away from using all of those things. The amplifier is the greatest solution because it's immediate. It's exactly what you sound like right then. You're not being processed by any outside source. You're controlling the sound, the EQ, the effects, all of those things, and your stage volume, and you're sending that out through an XLR to the board. Post EQ. And so, yeah, I mean, the boxes, they're fantastic, especially LR bags. I like that pair of acoustic DI is the best one on the market, I believe. It's still out there. And the Fishman Platinum Performer, I think it's called, is an incredible box. It's got everything. A tuner on board. It's got compression. It's got a boost switch. And it's very compact. And me and Gunning use them when we play live together. To avoid, actually, I leave my amp at home when I play with Dave. We just play through the house, and that box is our preferred weapon. But the LR Bags Paracoustic is in my opinion the best like workhorse, never fails, runs on a 9-volt battery if you want it to. I used one for 15-20 years for my fiddle. They do fiddles better than anything else, in my opinion. So there you go. Who's next?
I got a super chat from Jeff.
Of course you do.
He says, I think it might be time to have a snap out of the flask. If not, give the tiki mask a kiss.
Hey, look, this ain't your playground, buddy. And I tried to have a snap out of the flask, but the flask's
Guess what?
empty.
Look what's over here, though.
I know, but I get no way to. I can't drink out of the. I'm not gonna just drink
You don't have a
scotch out of
clean
the
glass?
decanter.
You know, there's clean glasses over there.
Yeah, but okay.
I'll get one maybe while you're yammering at one point.
Okay, well, let me. You go get a glass, and I'll
You
yammer
yammer about something, and I'll go get a glass.
So let me talk to you about.
Well, maybe let's just. Well, you can yammer about a question.
Yeah,
maybe.
ask a question.
Okay. We got one from Kenneth Innes.
Kenneth Innes.
I own an Elmo mandolin. Have you ever
A
heard
what?
of Elmo?
Elmo.
Like the little Muppet guy?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of them? Handmade by the late Elmo MacDonald of Fredericton Junction, New Brunswick.
Oh, yeah, I have. Yes, sir. I know absolutely nothing about them, but I've heard only good things about them. So, yes, you should be proud to have it. I believe, did he say he was...
He owns one, yeah.
Did he say he's gone now?
The late,
The builder?
Yeah.
The late, yeah. I'm, yeah, you've got a tremendously good instrument there, I believe. Good. She's trying to get me drunk. Okay, Jeff. Where the hell did you find this glass?
In the credenza.
Really?
Where all the glassware is.
Look at how fancy that is. Highland Park. Millions of people come to YouTube to watch me
Sniff whiskey.
sniff whiskey.
Scotch, I guess it will be. No, it'll get weird.
Highland Park.
Don't make it weird.
There we go. Don't make it weird.
Hard to find questions. There's so much. Okay, we got Kim Harris.
Kim Harris, how you doing?
Would you say that you kept improving because of practice, or are you just too embarrassed to say?
That I kept improving because of practice?
Would you say that how you kept improving was because of practice,
Well,
or
of
you
cour-
don't practice and you just get better because you're magic? I don't know.
No, of course not. I practiced my ass off. When I was a kid, I played 8 hours a day. I would get up in the morning before school, and I would play for 2 hours. And then at lunchtime, I would play for an hour. Then I'd get a half an hour and play at recess. That's that, 3.5. And then I'd come home, and I'd play after supper. I would play from 6 till 10, for another 4 hours. That's what I did my whole childhood. And on the weekends, if my mother could get me out of the house, or couldn't get me out of the house, I was in the room playing. You can't do anything without practice. There's no such thing as being magic or having some great innate talent. You got to work your ass off for this. It's not something that you can just do. If you have an ability, if you have a propensity to do it, that's one thing. Whatever. You're physically able, your body understands what's required to be a player. But you can't be a player unless you practice. And you got to take it really, really seriously. You can't just practice strumming a song and whatever. That's not practice. Practice is when you take a single piece of music and you take it apart measure by measure and then down note by note. And you listen to what the person has done. And you go, I need to make that one note sound like that. And I'm not going to stop until I make it sound like that. Not just the note is right, not the right note of the scale, but the delivery of it and the tone of it. And which string was it played on? Was it played closed? Was it played open? Was it played below the 5th fret, above the 7th fret? All these things. That's practice. And 50% of practice is right there. That's where your practice is. You have to hear. You have to listen very, very carefully to everything that you're trying to learn. And until you've successfully emulated someone. Now here's where the thing comes in about talent, whatever that is, right? I don't even know what that is. But some people reach the level of emulation of someone so quickly that they can branch out on their own and do their own thing. Example, Lenny Burrow. By the time he was 13, he could play just like Chet Atkins. So where was he to go after that? He wasn't magic. He just listened to Chet Atkins until his friggin' ears bled. And he played until his fingers bled. That's how he got there. Then he went boom. He exploded. He had nowhere else to go. So he went into jazz. He went into flamenco. He went into all of these different things, right? Chet Atkins was another great example. He emulated people like Merle Travis. And he was really the only one that he could copy. He blew through that like that. It was instant. And then he had to go somewhere else. So the idea I've just never agreed with the idea of these great guitar players, kind of just jumping out of the womb and they play like they do. Michael Hedges didn't start out doing what he did with guitar, tapping, melodic, open tuning. He didn't start out that way. He learned something else from another player that he studied it until his face fell off, until he could do it. And by virtue of doing that, you learn all of the technique, all of the theory, all of the delivery, all of the emotion, all these things. That's how you learn to play music. You can't learn to play music in a vacuum. You have to practice smart, and you have to choose a certain vein. It doesn't even have to be one artist. It can be a number of artists. But you've got to go down a path and legitimately learn what they're doing. Then you can do whatever you want. And that's what talent is. It isn't some innate fuel source that makes musicians great. It's not. It's the drive and determination to play something you can't play, and to keep struggling and wanting to just scream and throw the guitar somewhere, but you keep at it until you can do it. That's what talent is. There's no such thing as somebody having an innate talent where they just pick up the guitar and go blah, 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 blah. It's impossible. It doesn't happen. It looks like that to us because we only see them at one point in their own timeline. But you have to remember they were born long before that, and that you don't see everything behind them. You only see that moment in time where you watch me play something and you go, holy crap, blah, blah, or whatever you say, right? Or you say, that guy sucks. But it took me a long friggin' time to suck that bad. You know what I mean? It didn't just happen. I worked my butt off. And so did every other player that you've ever listened to and admired. They worked their asses off. It isn't something for the faint of heart. It's all out or nothing. That's the sad truth. So, there you go. I went on a fucking rant there, boys. I'll tell you.
some good yammering on that one.
That was some good yammering. Pay attention to this shit.
We got a super chat from Bernice asking me to answer a question from Tyler Balcon. He's asked it a couple of times. Which would you pick? Alvarez MD60BG or Recording King RD328?
That's a difficult choice. For sound, the Alvarez. The bluegrass model of Alvarez I had here kicked the ass of just about everything in the room, but there was a few little build things that I thought were dangerous. There was a few little, and it could have been my fault. I doubt it because I take good care of things, but there were some cracks, like tiny things. There was a little tiny crack on the neck binding that I noticed was like, oh, that's not good. And there was a little crack in the top binding. These are factory instruments, right? Of the Recording Kings, I'm the biggest fan of the RO 328. The RD 328 is also a great guitar, but the finish is very, very heavy. The Alvarez is finished much more lighter, and it's a difficult call. I think the Alvarez is slightly more money, but yeah, I mean, you'd literally have to. I think if you went with the Alvarez, sight unseen, just bought it, you might have more luck than with the Recording King. I don't know that for certain, though. My suggestion would be, before you choose, they're so close, right? And the Recording King, the 328s, they're all solid. They're all solid rosewood, Adirondack tops on them. And they're very well made. They're sturdily built. They're well made. They sound really good. I would just if you had to choose between them, I would really seriously consider being able to actually play both of them first before you decided which one you wanted to get, because they are both factory instruments. Of course, Alvarez has been around about 70 years. Recording King not so long. So there's those things to take into consideration as well. Recording King is building tremendous instruments and for very little money. But they're still in their growing pains, and they are still perfecting quality control and all of these things that they have to do. So, yeah, I would try to find one of each and try them and see which one you like and go with the one you love. You really can't lose, I don't believe, with either one. As a matter of fact, I think the Recording King, the RD328, is around $1,000, I think, and the Alvarez is around 600, which if you go back on my channel, you'll see a blind comparison between the Alvarez Bluegrass and a D28 Clarence White Martin. And I'm telling you, that Alvarez held its own. Half the people couldn't tell the difference between the two guitars. 50% of them.
Or they couldn't tell which one the Martin was.
They couldn't tell which one was.
They were different.
Yeah, they couldn't tell which one was the Martin.
Yeah.
That's frightening. So, yeah, they are making great guitars, no question. Alvarez and RK they just are. Who's next? We're getting down to the end, folks. We've got another 4 or 5 minutes left.
We got a super chat from Cam.
Super chat from Cam.
Musically speaking, what era of music is your favorite, and which one would you choose if you had a time machine?
That's a great question. Well, my favorite era, you're going to laugh your ass off. My favorite era of music is the 80s. I loved pop music in the 80s, and it was because it was so well written, and there were just so many icons that came out of that decade, like Phil Collins and Billy Joel and Culture Club, and there was just so many of them. The Bangles, Prince, there was just Michael Jackson. It was just unbelievable how many wicked artists came out of that era, even though I wasn't playing that kind of music. And if I had a time machine, I'd probably go back and be born maybe 10 years earlier than I was, so that I could have been around in the business when people like Tony Rice and Doc Watson and all these guys were coming up. I met these people at the end of their lives, and which really sucked. So if I could have been born, in 59 instead of 69, I think I would have, or maybe even a little earlier, I would have been right with those guys, right, and been around, been able to see them. They would have been my contemporaries, assuming that I went back in time with all my abilities, right? So that'd be a lot of fun. Anyhow,
we got 2 more super chats.
2 more super chats, and then we're going to have our trivia question for the week.
So we got just a comment from Gerard O'Connor from Ireland.
Gerard, how you doing?
He says, "Have a pint, love your music. Greetings from Dublin."
Greetings. Cheers to you, buddy. Drinking Danish Pilsner, but whatever.
And got a super chat from Kevin M, but I don't see a question. But thank you for the super chat.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, we're going to go to our trivia question, and of course we have prizes. We're going to take 2 winners. First 2 people answer this correctly. At Fantasy Music this week, you're going to get your normal $25 gift certificate, excluding Boucher purchases. If you spend over $100 in that store, you get the taxes in. And we're doing a giveaway. We've already got 4 people collected: Michael Lecoyne, Jeffrey Cohen, Michael LeBlanc,
Michael Easter
Michael
one.
LeBlanc, and John Delory, 4 of our winners already, who are eligible. At some point in February, after we get 10 or 12 people on the list, I believe, we're going to have a draw live here on String Theory, and you're going to win an 800 series Yamaha guitar. That is wicked. They're really nice guitars. I'm not sure which one he's going to have, but it's going to be deadly. So Fantasy has that. G&G, Glen Gotel, our biggest supporter, the number one Boucher guitar dealer in the world, is doing, of course, gangbusters up there. And they're out of recording guitars right now, so there's nothing like that on the line. But they are still, you're going to get your winder and your set of strings and your Levy's leather strap with G&G Music or String Theory. They also have a String Theory logo they're making for us now. And he's offering free $400 pickup systems in a Boucher. So if you go up there and buy, or even order one, a Boucher from Glenn, it's going to come with either a free K&K Pure Mini or a Bags Anthem, I think he uses. But it's going to be free. So, yeah, it's a wicked deal. And two fantastic shops that are just selling tons of guitars. Glenn has Boucher, of course, Martin, Lakewood, Recording King, and all kinds of stuff. He has sound equipment. He has microphones, all the accessories. Fantasy music. Man, they got Boucher. They got Yamaha handmaids. They got Yeri. Yeri is in there now. They have Recording King. And also a bevy of other makers' accessories. They have a recording studio downstairs. They have, they're starting a school downstairs there. These two shops are just kicking tons of ass right now, and proper thing. It's happening all over the world. There's a massive boom. We are experiencing the second folk boom right now. It really is happening. The guitar sales are up 700% worldwide right now. That's ridiculous. Every company is actually not able to supply the demand for acoustic guitars. Sweet. So the question is, the first two winners, the first two answers. We lost a music legend on Saturday. Who died on Saturday? This last Saturday.
You need to wait for the right answer music. We got some Tony Rice answers. Give it Dan again.
I can't believe I'm not getting this.
Here we go. We got it.
Got it?
Yeah, first one that was right is Catfish Creek.
Catfish Creek.
With Phil Spector.
Catfish Creek, and it is indeed Phil Spector.
And the second one was Jim Hanlon.
Jim Hanlon.
Gimme Jim.
So there you go. It was indeed Phil Spector. Poor Phil. Changed the whole world of music and then did a stupid thing and murdered a woman and died in prison Saturday at the age of 81, I think he was. And so I'm very cognizant of the fact that, the man did great things, but he murdered somebody who was, there was just no need of what happened. And it doesn't erase what he did, but it certainly leaves a bad mark on it. But Phil Spector, he died, and it's a sad story of, just drugs and insanity. And if you ever read anything about him or watched any of the movies about him, he was quite a character. But he really did a lot to change. He changed the world of music, and so there you go. Yeah, Phil Spector. So Catfish Creek, you have won the fantasy pack. And you can send me an email right now at jpcormier38@gmail.com. jpcormier38@gmail.com. Send me an email right now, and I'll forward you on to Steve McNeil at Fantasy Music. And Jimmy Hanlon, Triple J. You've won the G&G pack, which is, I don't know if you're in the market for a guitar right now, but you might be. I don't know. I don't think you are. You get all those Yamahas. So, But you can get your free strap and your winder and a free set of strings from Glenn. He'll mail them down there to you in the city if you want. You just drop me an email right now, jpcormier38@gmail.com. jpcormier38@gmail.com, and I'll forward your name on to Glenn. You know Glenn. Everybody knows Glenn. And there you go. So now we got 6 people in the draw for fantasy. And I just want to thank everybody for coming back every Wednesday night. How many people we have on tonight, Ginger? Did we have quite a few?
Around 120 on average.
That's awesome. So there you go. And we appreciate you being here and hanging in here with us for all these weeks and months. And we're not going anywhere. We're going to keep driving her by. And we'll see you next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Also, our songwriters in our Master Guitar Heads, we're going to do our songwriter night on the 26th of this month, Tuesday evening, January 26th. Just for the Master Guitar Heads, we do the songwriters workshop that once a month. And so be there with us that night. If you don't know about it, my birthday is Saturday. We're doing a live free-for-all here Saturday night starting at 7 p.m. And it's donations. If you want to send us some cash to help us buy cheeseburgers, do it. And there you go. So thank you very much. We'll hopefully see you all here on Saturday night, 7 p.m. and beyond. Monday on Limb. And next week, next Wednesday, on String Theory. I'm JP Cormier. Love you guys.